Hello, and welcome to the second of the Whipline series on the extraction economy, or rentier capitalism. The connection still might not be altogether obvious, but if you keep it in the back of your mind while you watch, it should become clearer as we go on. This part of the story starts with a prime example of yesterday's man thinking he's running the show. And his ideas are, frankly, demented. According to The Guardian, Tony Blair reckons Labour has drifted too far to the left wing of politics and should lurch firmly to the right, cracking down on benefit spending, abandoning net zero goals, and supporting Donald Trump. In the words of that bastion of balanced reporting, The Sun, phew, what a loony. He said it was a perennial delusion that the party should move left while losing seats to the right, saying it was dangerous to do it in government. While Labour is likely to lose many more seats to Reform than the Greens in a general election, most analysts of the recent local elections suggest that it loses 4 times as many votes to the Greens, splitting the left-leaning vote and allowing Reform in. Blair also criticised Keir Starmer's approach to the US war with Iran, despite most polls showing it was popular with the public. He said it was vital that the US could trust the UK as an ally. He criticised cuts to international aid, which he said had weakened Britain's influence, and said Starmer was trying to negotiate with Europe from a position of weakness. The former Prime Minister named Angela Rayner's Employment Rights Bill and Ed Miliband's Net Zero drive as key mistakes, alongside the phasing out of oil and gas licences and Rachel Reeves' decision to raise the minimum wage and national insurance and change the status of non-doms. All of the policies had given headwinds, not tailwinds, to British business, he wrote. The government should now remove all obstacles to AI-related business growths, radically increase planning reform, reverse its North Sea energy policy, and make fundamental changes to the welfare system, Blair argued, as well as seeking to repair relations with Trump's White House. Blair is trying to solve multiple political problems with one ideological reflex, and it's the wrong one. Many of his claims clash with each other or with the political reality he himself is trying to describe. Let's look at the contradictions in Blair's 5,700-word stream of nonsense. He says, Labour risks defeat because it has drifted into its comfort zone on the soft left. But he's criticising policies that would be better viewed as centrist or even pro-business social democracy. Accusing Keir Starmer of making a dangerous left turn is divorced from reality of Labour's policy content. He reckons Labour should move right because reform is the big electoral threat. But the Guardian article itself notes that Labour loses 4 times as many votes to the Greens as Reform. If Labour chases Reform voters by diluting net zero, welfare protection, workers' rights and environmental policy, it will hemorrhage progressive voters while having no guarantee of regaining those who are culturally conservative. Blair is making the mistake common to Labour in recent by-elections and this year's local elections. He's assuming the centre-right vote is recoverable while the left vote has nowhere else to go. And the evidence belies this. He bizarrely tries to oppose every factional position at once. His advice is, don't remove Starmer, but Starmer's direction is fundamentally wrong. Burnham is wrong. Streeting is wrong. Brexit was wrong, but reversing it is wrong. Net zero is wrong. The benefits system is wrong. And aid cuts are also wrong. If we're all wrong, according to him, where's his evidence that he is right? Possibly the most awkward point is that Blair wants closer alignment with the massive destabilising force that is Donald Trump. And there's also an unresolved economic contradiction. Blair criticises higher labour costs, stronger worker protections, environmental regulation and taxation changes, while simultaneously lamenting national decline and weak productivity. But Britain's long stagnation began during and continued after the neoliberal reforms he defends. Low investment, privatisation, regional inequality, housing dysfunction and financialisation are consequences of Blairism. And then there's the response from Labour, as quoted in The Guardian. This is fun. Tony has evidently not been near a working class Brit for decades, but he's clearly been away with the tech bro fantasists. Reheated Blairism has absolutely no answers to our national decline since the vultures were let loose. There was a time he would have stood up for social democratic values, but this shows just how far he has fallen. That's how Blair is seen now, in his party. Ever since the Iraq War, he has symbolised technocratic politics detached from social politics. The Labour sources comment taps into that perception. Blair still clearly believes the political landscape is fundamentally the same as it was in the late 1990s. He thinks business confidence is the master political variable. Triangulation works. Weathercock politics wins elections, and Labour mainly loses when it appears too left-wing. But politics after Brexit, austerity, COVID-19 and the cost of living crisis is far more fragmented and volatile. The only thing that could be more of a disaster than this has-been's intervention would be Keir Starmer acting on it. Far from boosting the economy, he would threaten a massive increase in inequality, with public services taking a hammering, and no guarantee of any economic improvement at all. His proposal is based on supply-side optimism. Reduce business constraints like tax, regulation, labour protections and environmental obligations, and growth will rise fast enough that everyone benefits through higher wages, more investment and stronger public finances. That's basically what the Tories were arguing from 2010 onwards, and it didn't happen. The UK's problem for decades has been weak investment, low productivity and regional inequality. Loosening labour protections and cutting benefits without fixing those issues would make employment even more precarious than it is now. Cutting wages for the many. Cutting benefits or making them harder to access would release public money for other purposes, most likely tax cuts for the rich, if recent history tells us anything. But it also makes low-waged work much more precarious unless pay improves, and there's no guarantee of that. Historically, in the UK, benefit cuts without strong wage growth have increased in-work poverty. Blair should know this. The business confidence investment wages chain depends heavily on assumptions about what will happen that are not supported by evidence. The UK already has low corporate tax rates by international standards and a light touch labour market compared with much of Europe, but investment remains weak and there is no reason to believe that that is about to change. This is especially true if Blair wants the government actively to discourage investment, as with his demand to cut net zero policies. Cancelling the plan may reduce some short-term costs for energy-intensive industries, but it would also increase long-term exposure to volatile fossil fuel prices that are set by foreign firms and reduce investment in renewable infrastructure. Energy transition policy is a major investment driver, and here's Blair demanding that the government must discourage capital in precisely the sectors expected to deliver future growth, while also saying he wants to encourage investment. It's nonsense doublespeak. Blair wants us to make the same bet we did with the Tories, that loosening constraints on investment and business will restart growth, and that growth will then lift wages across the board. And even those of us who were initially fooled by it stopped believing in the trickle-down effect decades ago.